Aye, shepherd's pie, greetings from the Philippines. I'm back. Today I thought I'd make a cheeky little video about some of the pitfalls of life in Thailand, or living in Thailand as an expat. Now, anyone who watches my channel knows I bloody love Thailand, but it's not a perfect destination, or not a perfect destination for everyone. And if you're thinking of moving there and you're seriously thinking of, uprooting and starting a new life in Thailand, there are a few things you need to consider very carefully. As I say, great destination, I love the place. But it's very easy to come unstuck in Thailand. A lot of people do every year. So hopefully you'll find this video useful, and hopefully it will help you avoid some of those pitfalls, or think a bit more carefully about whether it's the right place for you. Now, some good news is I'm not going to do the video in the house today, so you don't need to worry about the old echo chamber. I'm not going to do it in the garden where we're plagued by roosters, or sometimes plagued, not at the moment. What I'm going to do is a little walk and talk. So I'll take a wander around the local vicinity with a camera pointed the other way, so you don't have to look at my ugly mug, and you can take a look at the surrounding area, which a lot of you seem to find more interesting, and I aim to please. So by popular demand, we'll have a walk and talk. Catch you on the other side. So let's talk about Thailand. Now, there are a lot of great things about Thailand. Anyone who watches the channel knows I love the place. And I'm sure at some stage I'll go back there. But if you are considering about moving to Thailand and you've not lived there before, I think it's important that you know it isn't all a bed of roses over there. There are a number of issues that I think you would be wise to consider. And to be honest, if I hadn't spent 7 years in Thailand, a lot of what I've read and seen and heard over the last few months might put me off living there, to be honest with you. But because I had a good 7 years there, and I know how good it can be, they're not going to put me off going back there if I decide to go back there. The reason I've not gone back at the moment is because I'm very happy in the Philippines. But as I say, I'll be very surprised if I don't end up back in Thailand. But a lot of what's gone on recently. Well, let's start from the beginning because I'm rambling here. Let's talk about the new tax laws, because that's potentially a problem. It really is. Still don't think they finalised the details, but it's looking more and more like it's going to become a thing. That if you spend more than 6 months in the country, you can be subject to tax on income earned overseas. Now, whether that's going to be double tax or not, I do not know. But if you're going there and you're surviving on funds, pensions and incomes and that earned overseas, then it's got the potential to make things very difficult for you, particularly if you're on a limited budget. Now, the way I'm looking at it, it's not just the tax laws that's the problem. The problem is in Thailand, they're starting to look more and more and more at expats as potentially being a problem or something that should be exploited. And this has been going on for a while now, but there haven't been many laws put in place to actually act on it. Now, what I'm talking about is there are a lot of expats in Thailand, and over the years there has been growing ill feeling towards the expat community. It was highlighted in COVID. They had Anatin, who was the health minister, made a lot of remarks about dirty foreigners bringing a disease in, etc. He was very dismissive of the idea it could come from China. He wanted to promote the idea that you know, it was Westerners, dirty Westerners who don't wash, who were bringing the disease in. Now, it didn't get a lot of traction, but the point is he was a health minister, and at one stage he was the deputy prime minister, which was all to do with power sharing, but he was a loud voice, and he was you know, quite open with his disregard to Western influence in the country. I mean, it's quite clear they wanted less of us. Now, that's reflective of a lot of the community over there, I think. I don't like to say it, but you know, there is a lot. One of the things I like about the Philippines, there are a lot of expats here, but it doesn't seem to be the same ill feeling that you're starting to develop in Thailand. Now, I never really experienced it when I was in the villages. It wasn't something that I can testify myself. I got on very well with the Thai people that I live with, but there was, you know, in the village I live in, but there was a growing sense that there were too many expats in the Philippines, in Thailand. And you can certainly sense that in the big places like Bangkok and Pattaya, you know, and I can only imagine since I've been there that has grown. Haven't really felt that in the Philippines yet. Might be there, you know, boiling under the surface, but certainly haven't felt it to the same extent that I did in Thailand. Now, I'm going to go a way I've never gone before, up a route I've never taken. Whether this will be a good thing or a bad thing, I do not know, but we'll take a little wander up here. So yeah, they start with the tax laws. What will be next? I certainly get the feeling that they're going to, the government is going to do more and more and more in terms of legislation to try and earn money out of the expat community over there. Again, during COVID, they were pushing that way. You know, they were talking about how they want high class tourists over there, and they want, you know, they're starting to blame more and more, you know, crime rates on, I think primarily Russians, but they were blaming it on expats over there. And the chief of police, big joke they called him, was basically saying that, you know, they needed to increase the financial requirements for retirement visas and things. But equally, you know, the Thais do flip-flop a lot. I mean, at the same time they're bringing in these new tax laws and making it a lot less desirable for expats to be there, they're worrying that the tourist industry is not hitting the required figures. So it's extending the non-visa on arrival from 30 days to 60 days for a lot of countries. And they've already, I think it's the Russians and the Chinese up to 90 days. So it's a mixed match, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, they're taking with one hand and giving with the other. But anyway, these new tax laws and this movement towards increasingly seeing expats as cash cows, I think is cause for concern. It is cause for concern, because if it works, and it doesn't, you know, if there isn't a mad exodus of expats, and I believe there has been. I mean, one Chandler guy I know, I've mentioned before, James Abroad, he's been in Thailand for over 20 years, you know, doing really well, lives up in Tak, you know. I thought he'd be there till the day he dies. He did a video the other day that he's going to start splitting his time between Portugal and Thailand. So there you go. I mean, when people like that are doing it, you know, it's not scaremongering, it's a real thing, and it's a real consideration. Bloody nice house just up here. I do, and a big cow. Yeah, so that's one consideration. These new tax laws and where's it heading. The second consideration, which really is becoming a problem, I hope this cow's not camera shy. I've come outside here to make a video. You've got some little chicks down there. Because I thought it would be a nice quiet route and there wouldn't be any echo. But it's bloody noisy down here. There's some nice houses down here though, I tell you. I mean, look at these. Like palaces. So I've never come up this stretch before. So completely lost my train of thought now. So we were talking about, yeah, the burning season. My God, that seems to have become a real problem now in Thailand, and I don't know what they can do to combat it, because I know they're starting to ban and they're cracking down on the burning, but from what I understand, it's not actually Thailand that's causing the problem. It's the burning in Myanmar and Laos, Cambodia, on the borders. Now that was always a problem in the time I was there. Never a problem when I was in Petrobum. I mean, it was always a problem in Chiang Rai, you know, up on the border. They'd get a couple of months. I think was it January, February, March, whatever. But they get a couple of months when the air pollution was bad, and a lot of people would leave during that period. But from what I'm reading now and seeing, it's extending. It's becoming 3 or 4 months each year, and the air pollution is becoming awful, as in the most toxic air in the world. I think I was reading the other day in parts of Chiang Mai, and that's no good. Now, if the wind conditions are right, that is going to spread down to you know, other parts of the country. And I say, you know, I never experienced it in Chiang Mai, but there was one time when I was down in Pattaya with my girlfriend visiting friends, and I don't know what it was, the wind conditions had caught the, you know, some of the pollution from Chiang Mai, and it was coming down to Bangkok and Pattaya. And I think we had 2 days in Bangkok, and then we had a couple of days in Pattaya, and it's going back a few years. But my God, it was bad in Bangkok. My eyes were watering and stinging, but it was bearable. When we got down to Pattaya, it was less than bearable then. I mean, it was bloody awful. I was in a hell of a mess for several days. Completely ruined the trip down there. It was, yeah, it was bad. But hello. It was terrible. It was like stinging my eyes and my mouth, and it was awful. We want to relive that again. And that was just a small bit of, you know, what they were putting up with in Chiang Mai for a couple of months of the year. Now, if that's getting longer and longer and it's getting worse and worse, I mean, that would definitely put me off moving to Chiang Mai or Chiang Rai, which is a pain. Because if when I do go back to Thailand, that's where I had in mind. And as I say, I don't know where they can get around that, because it doesn't seem to be something that the Thais have got any power over. So, you know, how can they resolve it if they don't have any power over it? But it is what it is. But that's, I mean, I suppose that ties into the old 6 months in Thailand, 6 months somewhere else with the tax laws, if you're going to become a geriatric nomad, as I would call us. Yeah, you want to make sure the 6 months out of Thailand is during the burning season. I mean, that might tick that box. But again, something you need to consider. You know, as I say, I've heard it's pretty damn unbearable for certain times of the year. Won't necessarily be a problem if you're going to move down to the south. You might get it from time to time. But if you've got asthma or some, any kind of breathing problems, or not even breathing problems to be honest, because I don't have any breathing issues, but I couldn't stand that. I mean, they were terrible those 3-4 days in Bangkok and Pattaya. I couldn't take that for 3 months. Yeah, and as I say, it's getting worse each year. It's getting worse. So there's another consideration. Now, a hell of a lot of expats come unstuck through this, and again, you need to think about it if you're moving to Pattaya or somewhere like that. You know, it is very easy, because there's two. If you're going to retire to the Philippines, you're going to do, sorry, to Thailand, you're going to do one of two things, aren't you? You're either going to go to a tourist place, like Pattaya, Bangkok, Phuket, something like that. You're going to live in the expat communities, or you're going to go into the provinces and you're going to live, you know, a province lifestyle. Now, both come with their own set of problems. So if you've decided that you can put up with the tax laws, fine. You can put up with the burning season, fine. I would suggest your next consideration is which of the lifestyles you're going to go for. Let's say you're going to go for somewhere like Pattaya or Phuket. You know, you've been on holiday there, you've loved the place, you're going to move over there and you're going to live there. Well, that's what you want to do, power to you. But you need to be wary. Not everyone can do it. And I'm not talking about, you know, not everyone can afford to do it. Even if your finances in place, it is incredibly easy to blow your money in a place like Pattaya. It can be, I've seen it so many times. But also, it's, when you're living there, living the dream, it can very quickly turn into a nightmare. It happens all the time. I used to love going to Vegas, Las Vegas, many years ago when I, before I became an expat. And my dream was to live in Vegas, because I used to go over for the big boxing matches and I had a business interest out there. And I moved to Las Vegas in the end. I spent 6 months there, and by the end of those 6 months, I hated the place. You know, never wanted to go back again. And because it's one thing going there for a weekend or a week and having a great time, it's a different thing waking up every day and seeing it. Now, that's the trouble with Pattaya. It's okay going there for a great week, or a great 2 weeks, or a great month, or a great couple of months. But when you're living there every day, you need to get out of holiday mode. And if you can get out of holiday mode, you can have a great time there. A lot of people do, but not everyone can get out of holiday mode. And if you can't get out of holiday mode, that place will eat you. There are an incredible amount of suicides in Thailand, in Pattaya. You know, people throw themselves out of balconies every week, slashing their wrists, ending up in mental hospitals. I mean, that's what makes me laugh about, you know, where I am now in Dumaguete, because people call it Dumaguete. You know, that old punch up in the old coffee shop, that made the headlines. No one's ever shut up about it. Oh, I wouldn't go there, Dramagetti. That's nothing compared to Pattaya, mate. I tell you, there are fights every day of the week. Every day of the week. There are suicides every day of the week. There are murders each month. You know what I mean? It's, I'm not exaggerating. Pattaya is a very wild place. And when you're living in a wild place, it does things to you. And, you know, it's like, and again, I'm coming back to this ill feeling towards, you know, too many expats in Thailand, ill feeling. There was a really bad assault on Soi 6 a few weeks ago, if you know Thailand. The security team beat the living shit out of a couple of Brit tourists. Yeah, I could see in the video some of the bar girls, a lot of the bar girls were being supportive, but you know, that kind of a beating comes from animosity towards expats. Obviously these guys were thugs, but you know, there was a lot of venom in that violence, and I think just boiling under the In places like Pattaya, and you can just feel it, it's just bubbling away under the surface, there's a lot of animosity. Because there's so many of us over there, and we have changed the place, and yes, we bring money into it, but there's a hell of a lot of resentment in places like that towards expats, I feel anyway, I've seen over the years. Because you can see it occasionally, there'll be an argument with a vendor, and you know, see it a couple of times with Russians, they're arguing with this vendor and it turns into pushing. Before you know it, every street vendor and Thai within 100 metres comes running in, jumping to help the Thai. Help the Thai guy out. There's a lot of anger there. Anyway, yeah, but if you're living in a place like Pattaya, you've got to ask us. The old camera overheated then, so I'm back anyway. Because it's quite hot today. So I'm gonna go into some shade. Hopefully I'm not on private land here, but yeah, might be a bit cooler. Lots of chickens doing chicken things over here. So yeah, where was I? We were talking about Pattaya. Yeah, so you've got to contend with the temptation. You've got to contend. You know, if you like a drink, you can very quickly become an alcoholic over there, very quickly. If you're into women, you can very quickly fall in love over there and get taken for a ride. But it's not just the women you've got to be careful of. Even if you can handle the pace, you move to somewhere like Jomtien, and you know, lead a quieter life, and you don't get too committed on the woman front, and you don't drink much, and you moderate it, and you're enjoying life, you will invariably be mixing with expats, because it's difficult not to. Because let's face it, I'm not knocking Pattaya, I'm not knocking the bar girls and you know, anything over there, but the reality is nearly everyone who's got a business in Pattaya, their sole purpose is to screw tourists and expats out of every penny they can. So you're going to find it very hard to have Thai friends over there. I mean, I don't blame them. I mean, they're business people, you can't knock them for that. They've gone there to make money. You've gone there to spend money. So I mean, I'm not criticising, I'm just saying the reality is you will find it very hard to get Thai friends you can trust in Pattaya. So you will be forced to move in expat circles unless you're a hermit and don't go out at all. And if you're a hermit and you don't go out at all, what the hell are you living in Pattaya for? I mean, you might as well move into the provinces. Nice little bit of quiet country around here. So you're going to mix with expats, and you will invariably be mixing with expats who can't handle the pace in Pattaya, and you'll get dragged into their drama, whether you want to or not. And a lot of them can handle it, but have run out of money, and will do anything they can to stay there longer. So they will scam other expats, you know, and you can get taken for a ride. It's very hard to trust people in Pattaya. Anyone, expats, tourists, whoever. Very hard to trust anyone. It's just the way it is over there, the reality of life. I'm not knocking it. I know people who've lived in Pattaya for many, many years are very happy. I'm sure there are a lot of people very happy, you know, in any of these touristy places, but you've got to be a certain personality. Because if you can't control your urges, then your dream can very quickly turn into a nightmare. I know it's a cliche, but it's true. It is true about Pattaya. I've seen it many, many, many times. So, if you decide that you're not going to move to a tourist area, you're going to move to the provinces like I did, you will avoid a lot of these problems. There aren't going to be many expats for you to, you know, to scam you. You're not going to have the same temptations that you had, that you would have in these tourist places. But equally, you're going to have a lot of problems in terms of communicating with people. You can learn the language. You can learn the language. I learned the language to a certain level. Presumably the reason you've moved to one of these province areas is because you've got a partner. Because if you haven't got a partner over there, and you can't speak the language, you are going to struggle going to, you know, off the beaten track. Levels of English are still very low in the rural areas of Thailand. And without someone or a circle of friends to help you, you will find it very hard to settle. And I'm not talking about places like Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai. I'm talking about, you know, places off the beaten track. Phetchabun City, places like that where I was. Very rare you'll meet an expat out there who isn't there because of their girlfriend or their wife. You know, that's their hometown that they've gone to. Now you can have a great time out there. A great time. I had a wonderful time over there. But one thing, and it can affect people. See, I was there in Phetchabun for 5 years. And the sense of isolation and the sense of distrust never got to me. But I can understand how it does get to some people, and it gets to a lot of people. And who is to say it would not have got to me if I had stayed there longer? Because one thing you'll find about Thailand is you will never be a Thai. Even if you learn the language and build up a network of friends, you will always be a Farang. You know, even when I've been there for a number of years, I'd go round friends' houses for dinner and things, and people would be cooking. It would always be, you know, will the Farang eat this? Does the Farang like that? And I used to say to them, I'm not Farang, I'm Simon. Why you call me the Farang? And they'd laugh and they'd joke, but they'd still call me the Farang again for like 5 minutes later. You know, it doesn't drop. You will never be considered a Thai person. You will never really be part of the family over there. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I let to accept that, but some people become very isolated. I mean, when I first moved into the village, I used to love, you know, drinking and eating with the local Thais in the village and just doing things and being the only Westerner with them. And it always used to amaze me when you'd see, like, you know, a classic example, my girlfriend's aunt's husband was an American. They moved into the village. They'd been living down in, can't remember where they were living down, but somewhere near Pattaya. I can't think of the name of the town now. But they had been living there for a few years, and they moved up to the village, and they bought some land. And the first thing they did was put a wall up, and then they built a house behind the wall. And I used to marvel at all the expat houses where I was, and there weren't many, but I'm talking about the surrounding villages, all had these big walls and gates. And I was thinking, why would you come here? Why would you move here? And, you know, not integrate with the local people? Why would you build a big wall? Why would you do that? You know, it seems so insular. I mean, what's the point of coming here and just doing that? But then over time, I saw photographs and things of him, because he'd been in Thailand about 20 years, 25 years. And he was sitting down, and he was eating dinner, and he was drinking with the locals, just like I did in his old photographs. So he'd come there with the same intentions I had. A lot of people do. But over time, the fact that you're not ever accepted as part of the community, the fact that you know, things drive them behind those walls. I don't think many go there with the intention of not integrating and you're not becoming part of the community. But after you've been there for a while, experiences shape you, experiences scar you, and you become what I would call a cynical expat. And there's a lot of cynical expats in Thailand. They're happy, but they don't have many good words to say about Thais other than their immediate family. And I always swore I would never become like that, but who knows, maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. We won't know now. I'm in the Philippines. But anyway, it's an issue. You will always be a Farang. There will always be double charging. You know, that really pisses off a lot of expats over there. You know, you go into hospital, if you're paying for it, you'll get a bill double, or you can in certain circumstances get a bill for the same treatment as a Thai, but for twice the price. When you go to a lot of tourist resorts and things like that, you know, national parks and things, you will pay double, or be expected to pay double the tourist rate compared to the Thai, even though you've got a retirement visa, even though you've got a driving licence, even though you've got an ID card, etc. As far as they're concerned, you're still a tourist. Even if you've been there for 30 years, you're still a tourist, and always will be. You will never really be part of that community. part, you know, will always be a farang. But I've only been in the Philippines 8 months now, 9 months now. I'm starting to get the feeling it's the same here. You will always be a Westerner. You will never be a accepted as a or treated as a long-term Filipino resident. Anyway, so there you go. I've gone round in circles as I always do, but I thought I'd show you the neighbourhood. But these are some things that I think you should really consider if you're ever planning on moving to Thailand, because they're important. You know, it catches a lot of people out. It can be a lonely life. It can be a life full of temptations. And the way the cost of living's increasing in Thailand, and these new tax laws, sadly, I think it's going to be beyond the financial reach of a lot of people in years to come. However, I'm going to end with this caveat. If you can afford to live there, I think it's a fantastic place. The problems I've outlined in this video, I've seen happen to a lot of people. But thank God, they didn't happen to me, or haven't happened to me yet. I would highly recommend you move to Thailand. But move there with your eyes open, you know, because if you don't, you can very quickly come unstuck. I'm living in the Philippines now because the Philippines is right for me at this moment in life. I'm not moving in the Philippines because I think it's better than Thailand. If you watch the channel, you know I love Thailand. I'm loving the Philippines now. It's just at this moment in life, at this time in my life, the Philippines is for me. Now I'm going to end this video because I'm rambling. You're not going to believe this. I also think I'm bloody lost. And I'm not joking. I said I would, when I made this video, I said to myself I will, I'll come outside and I'll do a video around the local neighbourhood. But it's not actually my immediate neighbourhood. I got on my bike and I went round the corner, parked up. And now, I haven't got a bloody clue where I am. I've come back onto the main road. How the hell have I done that? Jesus wept. Where's that mean the bike is? Anyway, I'm going to go now. I can't believe I've done this. I've actually managed to get lost. Unbelievable. Well, there you go. Great. I hope you liked the video. If you did, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed, it'd be great if you did. Whether you do, whether you don't, whatever you are, stay safe, be lucky. You might read about me in the papers in a couple of weeks, a tourist that got lost in Bacong, never to be seen again. But if you do, and I do, you will never see this video. Anyway, I'm waffling now. Stay safe, be lucky.